we're gonna be big in Japan.
In Japan?
Yes.
Okay.
And we
I
are
don't know
live.
anything about
Well,
the
hi
market.
everybody. Yeah, we're live.
Okay.
Howdy,
right,
everyone.
welcome, everybody.
Welcome to our Monday series. This is another episode of Meeting Your New Neighbor. This is Konstantin, Manus, Eric, Tamara, and Oleg. We're meeting Oleg today. We are Brain Drain. We are the organization, non-profit organization that helps displaced people from all over the world, from Russia, Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, find new home in America. Welcome, everyone.
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Yes. I'm Eric. I'm joining from California, and we're here with Manus is up in Philadelphia, and Tamara, you're over in Tashkent with Konstantin.
Yes.
Oleg, where are you today?
I am in Yerevan, as I have been for the last half a year.
Nice.
Okay. Oleg, we're
And
gonna.
where is that?
Yeah, what
Yerevan is the capital of Armenia. Probably somebody has never heard of this country. Armenia is relatively small, and it always has been a little bit lost because it is landlocked. But over the last 3.5 years, it got a huge surge of Armenia had a huge influx of developers, programmers, designers, not only like just but maybe home designers as well. So Armenia has a very nice life here, and it is evolving, although maybe it is a little bit slower than Europe or United States.
Oleg, I have a little surprise for you. Now, in the United States, I think everyone knows Armenia. Everyone has heard of Armenia, and a lot of people know what it is. As a matter of fact, I used to study in California for some time. And you know how we called California in America and in back in the time? We called it Little Armenia.
Wow.
Yes, well, it's a joke, but lots of Armenians live in the USA and people with Armenian descent.
I know there is a huge diaspora, and we even call Yerevan as Yerevangelis sometimes to make fun of its heat. Yeah.
I remember times when there's an Armenian city in Los Angeles. It's called Glendale. Okay, and this mostly consists of Armenians, and I have friends there, and they told me that every single day, back in 2003, 2002, every single day, a huge cargo plane, like a big cargo Boeing, would be filled with Armenian beer called Kataik, and would be flown to Los Angeles every single day, and they would sell the beer there.
Impressive.
So people know about Armenia. Trust me, Yerevan and Armenia, not obscure places in America.
Well, and Armenia was in the news in the last year too because of the deal that that Trump was working on with Azerbaijan.
Yeah, hopefully this will help the region to become a little bit more stable.
Yeah, I can tell you that my experience with Armenia is that I can point to certain Armenian neighbors that we have here in the United States that I could find it on the map, but I think many Americans could not. And I remember the original controversy, and now we're talking, what, 20, 25 years? How long has Erdogan been in power in Turkey?
About 25 years, 24 maybe.
Yeah, about the same as Putin.
Yeah, or longer, But anyway, the controversy at that point in time was to get Turkey to recognize some atrocities that happened there and whatnot. So, okay, let's go on to pleasant things.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Sure.
Armenia, welcome. welcome
Yes.
to today's episode.
Am I the first person from Armenia to talk to you?
Are you?
believe
Now,
so.
I believe, didn't we have another, our other couple spent some time in Armenia? Oh, no, that was Georgia. They spent some time in Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's meet Oleg a little bit, huh? Let's Oleg,
Yes.
you studied linguistics and you shifted into machine learning. Is that correct?
Yes, that's completely true. But I would say there should be no surprise in this shift, because it was actually a shift. It was not a major step or leap or whatever. So when I was choosing what to do for my bachelor's degree, what to do after my high school, there were a few options. I realized that I am not probably stupid, but I had insufficient background to go into hardcore mathematics. I was probably too much inclined into fundamental studies, not like to some very, very applied things like web design. I thought about them, but okay, I was advised that it might be not the best way to do it. So I was choosing what kind of fundamental science would be interesting to me. And at some point of time, and thanks to my mom, hopefully she's also watching me. So my mom suggested, okay, you might want to find some fusion between some science and math. And I found the applied linguistics department in the university quite nearby in my home city. So basically, we started analysis of some textual sequences from the first day. We started mathematics from the day one as well. We started programming, I believe it was the second year. So I would say the drift towards machine learning was part of the drift of the whole world. I somehow managed to sense it, or maybe somebody suggested me, but I couldn't now remember who helped me to do it and why it happened. But still, it was very natural. When I was on the third year, I realized I was doing some statistical analysis of the text, and I came up with some feeling we might, instead of doing some very applied task on every new piece of text, we might discover something that later was called embeddings. But at the time, of course, I was not able to do so. But when I was studying later, I realized, okay, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Of course, it was very, very tricky math. Now I know how it works, but still. So I would say it was quite natural for somebody who likes doing things. And making a computer do what you want is part of this.
I agree. I come from a similar background of my second love is music, and so combining math and arts and thinking logically led me to computer science. But linguistics is also a fascinating subject for me. I love languages. I wish I could speak every language better. The machine learning, though, you came into the machine learning world before the famous attention is all you need paper. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I started by doing very simple and hardcore machine learning. Actually, it was actually hard because after the linguistic department, I got some basic training in math, and it was also connected to some entrepreneurship in it more. And then I got a unique chance to go to study abroad. I got a very nice internship in HQST. And so when I was choosing my curriculum, I discovered the advanced machine learning course. I thought, okay, let's see. So at first, if it felt like, okay, it's advanced, it would be too complicated. And then my advisor told me, no, it shouldn't be too complicated. It's also intended for those who never had machine learning before. I should probably do it. So we started with very simple things like linear regression, like logistic regression, support vector machines. So all these very simple things that now seem like very, very basic, they are already implemented in code many times. And now those are pieces you can put into any kind of code to make any stateful system remember or change its behavior upon its usage.
Yeah, so that we can talk about that in a minute, because I'm curious to get your opinion on some of the new technologies. I'm kind of, if the audience hasn't figured out, I'm the tech geek of the team. So
Yes.
we'll try to keep it. Anyone can jump in here and tell me we're getting too geeky at any time. So
You're long past that.
What I really like when you guys talking in Alex as well. I started with very simple machine learning, like discretional, regressional, discretion. Yeah, very simple. It's easy, incredibly simple.
Well,
Then
for
everything
me,
is about scale and amount of data you have.
yeah. For me, what's been amazing is I have a mathematics degree as well. And out of all the math courses, I remember taking linear algebra over a summertime session. And I was thinking to myself, oh, linear algebra, I'll never use this, multiplying matrices and well, look today. That's
Eric, don't tell us you did it for fun.
Well, no, I didn't do it for fun. But it turns out 20 years later, that's how all the machine learning is working. All the artificial intelligence is multiplying, basically doing linear algebra.
Ultimately, yes, and access and memory in different regions.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was just thinking that I still don't use linear algebra, so All right. Oleg, why don't you give us a little bit more of your background? Where were you born? What city? Where did you grow up?
I was born in the city of Leningrad, and it was renamed to St. Petersburg 3 years later. So I grew up there, and I stayed in St. Petersburg until I left for my internship to Hong Kong. And then I could call myself, now it's called digital nomad, but at the time I was making fun that I was like literally a nomad or like even a homeless.
Oh, okay. All right. So how long did you spend in Hong Kong?
1 year. Okay. It was 2 semesters. So I took the fall semester and spring semester. So I came like in early September. It was probably the 3rd of September, and stayed there until June, something like 10th.
Okay.
So how was that for a linguistics experience?
Well, that's the place where I had to practice my English. It's funny, I almost never started English like deliberately. On one hand. On the other hand, when I was a kid, like, most children, they start English by saying like mom, dad, or like cat, dog, mouse. For me, it was like file, view, edit, help, etc. But I never had an option to speak it. So when I came to Hong Kong, basically I had 3 options: to die from hunger, I could learn Cantonese, which I did to some extent, but Cantonese is very tricky. And I would say all the literature about Cantonese is in English, just because somehow it was never popular in Russian school, it was never popular in some other European schools. So every textbook about Cantonese is in English. And there was a third option: to practice my English, to practice understanding people with different accents. So yeah, it was a little bit tough, but all the education was in English, so all the courseworks, all the essays were in English. It was not too tough.
Yeah, in Hong Kong especially, because like you said, if you take the time and learn Cantonese, and then you go to the rest of China and you can't talk still because they're speaking Mandarin.
Well, you'll be surprised. I have never been to mainland China outside Guangdong province. So I barely can say ni hao in Mandarin, and I don't care because I always have been in Guangdong and people speak Cantonese there as well.
Okay.
It makes 2 of us. I've never been outside of Guangdong province. And I can't speak any, I haven't even been to Guangdong province in the first place. But, so I don't know how to do that. Prince, may I ask something? Okay, I like this math talk very much. Machine learning and, Hong Kong and all of that. To me, it all comes down to very simple questions. I ask everyone who comes to Tashkent Breakfast Club, who joins our community in Tashkent, and I really like to know the story of what drives people, what has driven people out of Russia, what they stand by for, and what they are about really. So my first question to you is, when did you leave Russia?
Well, the first time like I left without my ticket back, it was I believe the 7th of March of 2022. So I wanted to spend a couple of weeks or months abroad to take some like rest, to work. It would be like a vacation. And it was like a funny story. You already know it, Konstantin. I can repeat it, or maybe we can just skip it to save time. So yeah, I have been to Russia a couple of times after.
Just fine. Please tell everyone.
Okay, sure. So it was like early 2022, like the whole like political situation like, around Russia and Ukraine. So the war began. For the first week, I was surprisingly calm. So I got a few people asking me like, okay, where are you going or when are you leaving? And I couldn't answer anything because I didn't plan to do anything. I stayed there. I tried to get used to what was going on. I tried to communicate with people from different backgrounds. So it was, I could bear it at the time. But on the second week, I realized I got a little bit depressed. So I basically, the only thing I did was just reading news, like trying to hang on, trying to help people like escape. So there was a huge chat with almost 10,000 members there. So people were asking what to do, how to do. I had some answers for them. I helped a few people just with exchanging money because I had some foreign account at the time. And then I realized, okay, I'm not working. It's already like the 8th day and I'm not working at all. I decided to take a small rest and go to Kazakhstan. So I bought a ticket for Astana. For Astana. It was still Nur-Sultan at the time. And on the day before my flight was scheduled, I got a call and I was asked, how would I like to get my money back? I told, okay, I don't want my money back. I would like to go to Kazakhstan and take some like rest there, whatever. I was told, okay, sorry, there are no options. Either you go like with our chargeback, or not chargeback, with our return, or like you will do it on your own with this company. And at that point of time, I realized, well, something is going terribly bad, because if I cannot fly from Russia to Kazakhstan without canceled flights, that means, well, I might not be able to leave like in a month. So, can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Yeah, sorry, we had some issues. There was no light here. So I realized I need to do something. So I bought the next ticket to Istanbul, and I spent next year and a half in Istanbul.
What did drive you to leave Russia? You said, in March, I took a short vacation. I decided to take a vacation. I recall early March of 2022, and let me tell you something. It wasn't the time to take vacations. Did you really want to take a vacation?
Well, it was a vacation. On one side, I was and I am in kind of privileged position, so I'm able to travel while I'm still working. On the other hand, I was full of anxiety. I realized like, okay, something is going terribly wrong. I didn't know what to do. At some point of time, I got like a question inside me. Okay, if I had to choose between the world without Russia, so I stay outside, or I stay inside the country and I might be not able to go abroad, I would prefer to stay abroad somehow. It was the first like emotional and personal choice. If that's fine to you.
Respect. Sending you my respect. What can I say? I left for the first time on the 28th of March. I stayed away from Russia for a month. Then I returned and I left for good in September. I always have a lot of respect for everyone who left shortly after the start of the war.
Well, it is maybe a little bit too personal and too egoistic to say I was too anxious. That's why sometimes it's better to say, well, I was anxious, but I had a privilege to do so without breaking up too much. Okay, breaking up as few as I can in the situation, given like lots of things already have been broken up.
Why Turkey?
It was the first ticket I found for reasonable price. I have never been to Turkey before. I knew almost nothing about this country before. And surprisingly, it was a great opportunity to dive into the culture, to dive a little bit into the economy, to learn some people who were making startups now surprisingly outside Turkey, and to learn the language, which is, again, surprisingly very simple. I would say it's maybe the second simple natural language after Hebrew I ever have heard of.
And
when you say normal price, what did you mean by that?
Sorry?
You said it was the first ticket I could find at a normal price. What did you mean by that?
I already mentioned to you, so I was a moderator in a relatively big chat, so there was one suggestion to those who were anxious, were trying to buy tickets. So of course, the ticket prices rose incredibly. So most of economy class was sold out. And there was one suggestion that I already circulated a few times in the chat. So if you need a ticket and you don't see anything affordable, try to go with applications from the airlines. And since Turkish Airlines is a relatively big carrier, so they have a good applications. I installed these applications. I found a ticket for 300 something euro. Yeah, and I got sovereign euro, so I didn't care how much it would show up in rubles. So I knew the price was a little bit above the average, but it wasn't 2,000. So I decided, okay, let's try with Turkey with this relatively good carrier. As I learned later, they're pretty good. So it was a fully random choice. Okay, not fully random. I knew there were a few people who were already there, like a good friend of mine and a guy who I have been mentoring for at the time it was 20 years. Now we know each other for 23 years. So that guy was already in Turkey for a few days. He told me it was okay for him there. I got a few other acquaintances there as well, so I knew I wouldn't be alone. But again, it was not very thought of. And well, to be honest, I didn't think about plans for next half year. It was my plan for next month or two. And I knew I could go there without a visa and without any other complexities.
Okay. So the main point was, if I understand, because it's something that we in America have never had to face. And when you say the prices were going up, can you give us an example? What was a normal price and what were the prices they were asking you?
In early March, a couple of days after the beginning of the war, the prices were about normal or a bit more. Suppose you could go to Turkey for $200 before, in 2020. There was of course Corona, so I don't know if it was normal or not. I don't check the prices monthly.
Okay.
But on the first days it would be the same, couple $100. And then, on the 1st of March, I was reported that some people paid, I don't know, 2,000 euro just to go to Turkey one way. Okay, You can imagine there is a Super Bowl or Thanksgiving Day, and you need to fly from California to New York, to Michigan, whatever you want. So, and there is very busy direction. So suppose you have everything sold out, you only have business class remaining. I believe something similar has happened.
Okay, so one day it's 200 and the next day it's 2,000.
Kinda.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. And I think I interrupted Konstantin. But that's okay.
Well, I have one more question. Now you're in Armenia. So you spent a year and a half in Turkey and then you ended up in Armenia. How? I guess how and why?
Well, there is another place I spent another 1 year and a half. This is Malta. I was working for a company with a couple of offices in Europe, and one of them was Malta. And I would say I had no other option if I wanted to go to Europe. But yeah, Malta has a very complicated and very limiting high-skilled workers visa program. So when you leave the company, your residence permit is withdrawn the same moment you leave the company. It takes just 15 minutes to go to the airport, but still I would be 15 minutes overstaying in Malta when I leave after leaving the office.
Okay. So and then to Armenia. And then, so why is your final destination in Armenia for now?
It is not final. Actually, I came here just because my current employer has an office in Armenia, and the office is pretty good. We have like few dozen people here. They are very, very nice guys. We meet sometimes. We have like offline co-working events. So in Armenia is very welcoming, I would say. I have been here just once before. So when I was told that I need to go to Armenia to sign some papers, I said, well, it's not too bad. I decided to stay here for a month, then like for a few other months, and so I ended up here.
So linguistically, back to your passion, Armenian is one of the strangest languages in Europe, one of the oldest languages. How's that been? Have you studied linguistically the Armenian language at all?
I would say Armenian is one of my failures, and it is my second failure in my life after the after Thai language. Armenian is very interesting. It has some connections. It belongs to Indo-European family, but it has really some bare connections to like Sanskrit and some languages of that time. It is pretty hard to learn it. First of all, you need to get used to the symbolic system. So the Armenian has its own alphabet, its own characters. Before you do anything further, you need to get acquainted with it. And it takes some time. For me, it was like more than 2 months just to start reading kind of slowly, but I was able to spell something like that was written out. Then Armenian has a very unusual, very fused grammar structure, which fuses some features like from Slavic languages, some features like articles from German languages, Germanic group. So yeah, Armenian is quite weird. Modern Armenian has very few borrowings from languages except Russian and a little bit of Farsi. So you need to learn like lots of new words by heart, and they're like quite a bit weird. So you get used to it at some point of time, but still you need to get the full new like block of knowledge, and which is kind of useless for learning any other language in future, unlike Turkish, because Turkish was very helpful to understand the whole like Turkish.
You can understand the Armenian is kind of an orphaned language, so once you learn it, there's not a lot of use for it, right?
Yeah. So I heard not much motivation. I had some complexity with the new character system. So I ended up telling a few phrases and some ability to like analyze some sentences. Well, it's slower than Turkish because after 6 months in Turkey, I was able to handle some conversation at A1 level, like with some random people in the shop or like when swimming in the sea. In Armenia, I would say we will still default to English, Russian, mostly Russian here. But I am able to read like something given me by the doctor, so I understand that, you have no problems with your liver, you have certain problems with your eyes, and then I use dictionary to understand which one.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been to quite a few places. You've been to different situations in your life, and you seem very upbeat, very, cheerful. Now, I have one question. You are looking towards the USA. Why?
Well, to be honest, I have already been to the United States, but it was a very privileged position, and it didn't include an option to stay straightforward. It's a modern world, I would say. There were some opportunities back in Europe, and even in Russia, I had some face for Russian business environment. Right now, I think United States is one of options which change more slowly than the other world. I don't mean there is no development. I mean there are less tremendous changes, not inflicted by some development of technologies or some politics, which is kind of straightforward. So the United States is big and it doesn't have much issues with the neighbors. So still the startup climate, although is getting chill, much cooler now, even especially after Corona, but still it's a good place to find a good project to develop a big project. Because what I see happening in Europe in most places, those are mostly infrastructure projects which are good. Like even our company, like they have their head office in the United States. They are basically fixing a big, like maybe design issue, maybe implementation issue by one of major providers of software. So they're making a very good tool to make the software work even better. So it's like symbiosis. And most of the projects I see around there, like doing some like local patches to the reality or maybe to virtual reality. And what I remember from California from 2016, it was kind of possible to meet people with some good vision. And on one side, on the other side, they were able to calibrate their vision in terms of like, is it possible? Is it feasible? Is it possible to sell it? Is it possible to do it? Which many people like in Europe, they lack sometimes. On the third, like in Europe, it's pretty hard to kick off, to find some partners to do things like outside some startup, like regions like University of Aalto in Finland, or like some regions in France. Even in France, it is like not about helping you make the business. It's about like, okay, we give you some tax preference and good luck with everything else. And you get stuck with those bureaucracy. As far as I recall, United States gives people to some opportunity to try things on, to find partners faster and like kick off things faster.
So what is your dream? Is your dream to be, do you have ideas you want to develop? Is your dream to partner with entrepreneurs? Do you like developing ideas, maintaining systems? What's your passion in the field?
Well, can I answer with a short story from my life?
Sure.
Well, I had a very nice opportunity back in 2015. I was a member, I was kind of CTO of a startup. So it was founded by one Estonian guy with big vision, and he managed to find some, it was not much money, but he managed to find some money back in Estonia. And this startup was tightly connected to translation tasks. It was not machine translation, or not fully at least. We started as a computer aided translation tool. So I came in as like the second person because the guy had some ideas. He asked first a friend of mine, then like I got connected to him. He asked me, is it possible to do some specific task about some parallel texts? I told him, yes, of course it's possible. So he wanted to align text. Suppose we have like two big blocks of text, like one in Estonian, another one in English or German or whatever you want. So he wanted to see like which sentence corresponds to which one. So of course it's possible to do so. I explained him some basics of statistical technology. I told him there are some major shifts going on. So maybe in like year or two, the technology to do so would be much more accurate just because like it's been developed and there would be some state-of-the-art solutions for this. And then we started making he had some vision of the product around this idea of aligning parallel texts. And we agreed that he wants to see some prototype. It was done in a couple of weeks. Then he had some vision how to sell it. We developed this prototype further. I had to set up some architecture of the product. We also had to define how do we deal with the data, how do we collect it, where can we take the data, where we cannot take the data. And it was a huge passion for me. So I don't have a vision of an ideal project right now because, the world changes very, very quickly. I don't think whatever I come up right now would be, it does not necessarily be actual in a year, like in 2 years. But I would be definitely happy to find somebody with some like vision. And I am always happy to say, okay, it is possible to do it, or it is impossible, or it would be like expensive, or it would be not expensive to estimate like the cost, estimate the complexity. I'd be really happy to do all the things around this idea, as it happened to me like a few times in my life. But I think my peak project was this like startup in Estonia, and I would like to repeat it definitely.
Yeah, well, that sounds interesting. It definitely sounds like you're in founder mode or startup mode, and you're looking for a team and an interesting project, which I can relate to as a technologist myself. I look at the interesting project more than I do the technology, because technology changes so quickly. Like you said, it could be a project that's possible today or is not possible today and will be possible tomorrow because of new technology.
And the market is also changing, like where nobody needs actually this computer-aided translation tools now, except very narrow niche, because the whole approach to the translation has changed. So it's not bad, it's just like needs to be monitored. And yeah, well, I think I gave this answer to you what I'm looking for, and I feel like I only met people with some vision, like in the recent few years, twice, maybe 3 times, and I'm looking forward to find someone with like some great and crazy idea to go on.
Yeah, I was okay. You're also involved with the AI, correct?
I hate this abbreviation.
You hate what?
I hate the abbreviation of AI. Because for me, it is the idea from some very nice books from Isaac Asimov, from Stanislav Lem, which is not correlated with any of the products I have been participating in.
Oh, okay. All right. And I think I read somewhere that a company that you are associated with or were associated with has offices in Ohio.
Yes, it's my current company. Like it's not good to tell the name. It's not necessary, but still,
It's okay,
as far as I know, they have some
yeah.
sales in Ohio.
Today, it just kind of like the light bulb went off on me for when I saw that, and I saw something earlier, and I know the big talk with AI is the power generation. All right, so the how we would have to improve our grid and things of that nature, and generate more power for both the AI and then for the data centers or whatever. It's beyond my comprehension. I'll put it that way. But I remember that Intel and I think a couple other companies were building plants in Ohio under the previous administration. I don't know what the progress of it was, but here I found out that transmission for excess power, electricity power, the lines that handle the transmission for the excess power only exist if you draw a triangle from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is in the west part of Pennsylvania, the state that I live in, go up to Milwaukee, come down to St. Louis, and then come back and whatnot. And in that area, which encompasses Ohio and probably parts of Michigan and that type of stuff, is where you want to be as far as generating the power that is going to be needed. So.
Let me interfere here a bit, Manus. So it's a good example why I don't like the abbreviation of AI.
Okay.
The task of grid optimization is pretty well known. I don't know for how many decades it exists,
Yeah.
but I was studying the finite elements approach back in Hong Kong, then in Scotech. It was more than 10 years ago. And it is a discrete optimization approach. It is a pure mathematics, which works quite robustly given a quite kind of limited set of nodes you have. I believe large models we have now, and I'm not talking about language models. I believe you can encode the state of your grid or some additional features like spatial features into some embeddings. You can definitely use a big model to optimize it. You can definitely train the model to go better with it. But it is not AI. It is a mathematical model which has very strictly defined input, strictly defined output. So there is some loss function you use to assess how good is it. So you put on some brain work to make the best loss function. You put as much data as you can. So, and fortunately now you have enough compute to shake this. It's not a black box, but it's a gray box. You put in some power, you put in some data, you shake it, you get some results. You choose the result with the best, with the lowest loss, and you enjoy it. So it is not AI. It is a mathematical model with a very specific task. If you are good enough to define it, or if you are just fiddling around, you might have not set it well. So you just waste your computing time to get some better model.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I try to tell people in my AI talks as well that the large language models today are basically stochastic parrots. And you're right. I studied as well. I studied linear regression in the 90s. That makes me an ancient dinosaur. You know, linear regression's been around for a long time. So all the current AI models, in a sense, all they are doing is taking a huge distribution of things they can choose from and saying, what's the next best thing that I can choose? And so all they're doing is statistics.
Kinda. So you predict the next token given your previous context.
Yeah.
Fortunately, current models are able to grasp relatively big context. So I recall, like back in 2008 or 9, so the model could predict like the third token given to previous token. It was a trigger model. So it was not a neural network. Then we switched to shallow neural networks to do the same task. Then we switched to deep neural networks to predict 60 tokens, 256 tokens. Now we could extend it to a few thousand. But I would say, okay, those stochastic parrots are a little bit enhanced by means of engineering. So it's not just a pure parrot. It's a parrot with some pedals, so it can access a few tools. You can search in the database, you can search in the internet. But basically, yes, you have a model predicting tokens, and some tokens are handled specifically to do some tasks. So it is an agentic stochastic parrot. I would agree with this.
Yeah, and definitely it's not the artificial intelligence, and our current solution is not going to give us the generalized artificial intelligence. I don't think that's going to be sold. I think that the models don't know enough about how the world works. I think we need some symbolic artificial intelligence thrown into the mix before it gets to the point that now some robotics there are some robotics projects working on that.
There are a few. So you can use a multimodal model, so you can feed in different kinds of sensors. So instead of a string of text, you can encode a few sensors, maybe with some history to give the location, to give probably a couple of images from a couple of cameras, from a normal camera and a distant or time of flight camera to get the depth map. So you can feed in some previous state, and I know even the very simple experiment can result in pretty good results. So that already happens. I know also a couple of efforts to deal with some semantic structure of the notions, the semantic dictionaries, they existed for decades as well. So I know there is one company now almost extinct dealing with this semantic graph. I don't know if they survived or not. I know there are some research groups in the United States also dealing with these ontologies. So there is some ongoing research. It might help us. But what is more important, I don't know, 100 years ago, people invented calculators. They started with mechanical ones. So you can remove lots of simple brain work by using calculator. So instead of counting some data, you would either type into the calculator or use the tabulator to put in some cards with the data. Then people invented computers that started helping with again, instead of copying the same document multiple times physically, you can use the computer to change it, to use templates, whatever. So it also removed lots of kind of simple and routine work. So the generative models for text, for images, they also do lots of useful work, sometimes useless work. People are like this. People started inventing computers to fiddle with numbers and ended up making game consoles. Is it bad? Well, I think no. As a game console itself is a good toy and it helps many people to relax. Maybe it's not for me, maybe there is some problem with addiction, but the tool itself is not bad. So the same with the generative approach. So maybe there are some issues with the overconsumption, with the complexity of the models, with, I don't know, the ethics of acquiring data, which is a hot topic now with AI safety. Yeah. But again, it's going to be resolved.
Yeah, I kind of go back to, I think you were referring to maybe Wolfram Alpha. Have you played with that at all? Wolfram language?
Yes, of course. It was quite a hot topic starting like 2000, I don't know, 7, 8, 10, I forgot. I probably was still in my linguistics department. So we used it to solve some some problems which are written down in symbols. So you had to learn the language. And I was really inspired how well does the system work, like where the calculator cannot help you.
For all of you non-geeks, I've been following this technical guy named Stephen Wolfram for years, and he's in the AI world, and his philosophy is that the AI needs to be built on symbolic knowledge, that it needs to know how the world works. And so there's a whole symbolic language called Wolfram Alpha that can be used to solve a whole class of problems. And it's kind of fallen by the wayside with the advent of LLMs, became the newest, most popular thing on the block. But I think we're going to see scaling laws come to a peak at a certain point. There's a certain point where we can only throw so much computing at the problem, and we're going to reach a peak in the curve of how much smarter it's going to get.
You know, Eric, there was an article published, I believe, already like 7 years ago. It was called The Beta Lesson. It was about the idea that you can design a very intricate model with your own hands, looking at the data, trying to make some hypotheses, verifying them, and writing everything down like on your own. But since it takes your time, you cannot spend like more than the hours you have in your like daytime, and you need always to verify if any new addition doesn't break like the compatibility. So you need to make like regression tests.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is very simple. But in the year of 2019, it was the epoch of GPT-2. It was already the time where people used like now it's called like small transformers. At the time, it was medium-sized transformers to resolve some natural language tasks like how's it called? Emotion detection. How's it called? I forgot the word for this.
Sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis. Yep.
Yes, thanks. So you can make like a sentiment classifier, you can make irony classifier, which is almost impossible to do based on rows. And you can use this like medium-sized transformers, like BERT-like model to detect irony much better than like any row-based system would do. And the lesson was about like the idea you can put more data and more compute, and ultimately it would be faster and more accurate than anything you can do on your own. I think it is not fully true, but still, like the observation was really better.
Now, may I ask a question, Eric? You. So, do I understand correctly that if right now, by some kind of miracle, Oleg would fly to the USA tomorrow, let's say, and say, "Well, here I am." How fast would he find a job, and what kind of job and that would be?
Well,
that's your estimation. I'm not putting you on the spot. Just in your opinion.
Careers in ML are really hot right now. I mean, if you've got machine learning and bona fide project credentials on your resume, you're a hot commodity. I mean, you're talking about managing clusters and designing and architecting things. Yeah, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg's been hiring top AI engineers for $100 million a year. I mean, but
as far as I know, last October he fired about a few hundred guys. I forgot the exact figure, but actually Meta is firing now.
On the other hand, yes, there have been a bunch of layoffs in the tech.
It's like a sign.
Yeah.
But still, do I understand correctly? It'd be fairly easy to find a high-paying job and just start working in the USA and adding value to the economy, to the society, to the technology.
I would say his job prospects would be better than most Yes, there's not a problem finding a job. It's a matter of Oleg, you would be in a position of being able to be picky about which project is your favorite project.
I was going to say that he barely have time to unpack.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
particularly, and it's not only the West Coast. There are technology centers being built up all around the United States where they're hiring people. If you're dead set, I'm going to move to this one city, there might be more competition. But where was it? Ohio. I just saw they're opening up a big tech center. Austin,
like
Texas.
I said, I didn't know why Ohio, and I also understand. I know that this revolution that they keep saying is here. It's not here. It's coming within the next decade or two, but it's just not here yet. We need people to build power plants. We need the political will to build the power plants, because they're going to be nuclear or coal-fired, and that is not a politically desirable outcome in the United States at the moment. But I think they'll get around to it and they'll figure it out. So.
Well, then there are downstream opportunities from all this artificial intelligence development. I just looked into some opportunities around data center logistics the other day.
Yeah.
Of how do you solve these problems of data centers over provisioning equipment for a data, so that's just one simple example. So yeah, there's plenty of work in the United States if you're in the IT industry and you want to work and you're particularly in artificial intelligence or machine learning and you have some background in that.
Actually, infrastructure turnover is a very hot thing, because we have been seeing lots of obsolete instances in AWS, in Microsoft Azure as well. So we see like big providers have purchased pretty large amounts of some machines some time ago. And unlike CPU machines, which can work and remain useful for, I don't know, a decade. So for GPUs, it is the time span is smaller. So that's what is directly influencing me. It is putting the prices of the GPU rental higher. Sorry, can you hear me? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I was saying that you need to your GPU has to pay back in shorter time than CPU. That's why it pushes the rental prices up, and the whole turnover of the equipment and the whole all these issues of purchasing new one, recycling the old one is much more complicated. And the new generation is not always, but typically more efficient. So you will waste less energy with new generations. So it's really interesting how the whole economy works around this hardware. And there are not only GPUs, there are some other accelerators. And let's see how the world goes, because GPUs has been around for more than 10 years. I think it's time to make something more specific and more efficient.
I would agree. And I think that Google, with their TPUs, Google is giving them a run for the money. I think Meta is trying to develop their own chip in-house, their own inference chips. Yeah, I would agree. I think GPU is reaching the end of its repurposing run as a matrix crunching tool. I mean, there's got to be a better way to design a chip than a vector multiplying. Now I lost the rest of the audience.
Yeah.
Rein us in, Manus.
Oh yes. Okay, let's go back to St. Petersburg. Your family still there?
Yes, my mom. Only my mom is still alive, so she lives back in St. Petersburg. So if you can see me, привет, mama. So yeah, she's still there, and yeah.
Okay. tell me about growing up. I mean, did you play? What kind of things did you do? Did you just sit at home and play with your computers, or what was life like?
Good question. I actually stayed at home. I was not a kid who would go outside, partially due to the structure of like St. Petersburg, because I was born in the very center, so there are quite a few places to go when you are just a small kid. So
Okay.
we had a street outside. We had like barely had any parks suitable for children at the time. So I was staying at home. I was, I believe, mostly reading. So I was very early at the computer and I was pretty much attracted to it. But I realized that, well, I liked playing games, but I think I stopped doing it when I was like 13. So I like to read. I like to read like encyclopedia designed for children. It was very captivating. I still like that kind of things. Like, it was way before Wikipedia rose. So it was the same idea. So there are lots of interconnected texts about how the world is built. And I was also very curious about some hobby electronics. So it was in Russia at the time, it was pretty much connected to ham radio. Of course, it is mostly not about radios anymore. It's mostly about some microcontrollers. So I was very curious about it. And that's what also like played some part in my life afterwards. But yeah, I mostly stayed at home. I was studying languages. I already started like German when I was at school. I started French when I was at school. So then I like was able to do something with the computer. I started making very simple websites. Maybe it's a bit shame now, but still I had some experience about it. So yeah, I was a little bit geeky.
All right, but you
I know the
mentioned
feeling.
languages. How many languages can you have a conversation in?
Well, I need to count because I can easily speak in German and French. Of course, we are talking in English. I think I can say a couple good phrases in Turkish and handle some conversations out with some issues. So I know a little bit of Hebrew and Cantonese. I think that's basically what I can speak. I can also say a few phrases in Japanese and Serbian, or like, okay, this language. I mean, Serbian, Croatian, Montenegrin, Bosnian. It's like the single language for 4 countries now. It's really basically the one language with different dialects. But again, I'm not very too proficient in it.
But you'll never starve in a restaurant, and you'll never get lost because you can ask for directions.
That's true.
Okay.
I also like walking around and remembering how like I ended up in this location. So I liked doing this in Hong Kong where I had no internet. It was fun.
Okay.
I like that too. Australians call them walkabout. I like to go on walkabout when I go travel someplace.
That's nice to hear.
For me, I'm limited to English and mime.
It's never too late to learn a new one.
No.
Okay. All right.
So what's fascinating you today, Oleg? What's your passion today? What are you currently? What kind of music you listen to? What are you reading? What do you?
Well, about music, I don't have much new things around me, but I'm mostly listening to some symphonic metal, some other kinds of metal music, but it is not what is the most important in my life. Well, I like right here in Yerevan, I am enjoying the idea that I have lots of people around. Malta is a great country, but for me, it was extremely deserted. In the sense, I couldn't make any close relationships like friends, acquaintances, like just people with some engineering mindset. In Yerevan, I found lots of guys. Most of them are speaking Russian, but not only. Like there are some Armenians with whom we only chat in English. So there are lots of guys here who want to do something, to make something. And I really enjoy being surrounded by people. So I think it's the best side of the country, and it what drives me for the last half a year.
Nice. Well, that's wonderful. We're coming up already. These hours go so quickly. We're coming up already.
So, friends, do we approve Oleg to become the new neighbor?
Of course.
I would welcome Oleg as my neighbor.
Hands
I
down.
would keep him away from Eric, because then these guys would get talking about the mathematics and technology. We never see him again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's been fun.
Yes.
So did we have any other questions coming in from the audience or comments today? I think we lost everyone with our tech geekiness, but you know, it's an important topic, artificial intelligence and machine learning, and whether you know it or not, everyone in this audience is using some kind of quote unquote AI every day, whether you log into
Certainly it's the
ChatGPT.
future. It's the future.
Yep.
Whether we'll know it or not, it doesn't matter. The future is coming.
We do have a question. It might be, instead of a new neighbor, an old neighbor.
Yes,
what
I see the
school
question.
you finished, what number?
Yeah, in Russia, schools typically have unique numbers within a city or town. So I was in school number 27 for all the 10 years I have been studying. I never changed it. So yeah, school number 27 of St. Petersburg.
All right.
Number 27. What was your mascot? Do schools have a mascot?
Well, we don't have mascots. Schools sometimes are named after some famous people. So it was named after relatively famous Russian writer Ivan Bunin. But, well, at the time, I believe it was chosen just because he was very unusual, like for Soviet and post-Soviet educational system. Because he, well, you know, this guy was a tough person, I mean, Bunin, and his literature is also quite tough to read.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining another edition of Meet Your New Neighbors.
It was a pleasure to meet you all.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Join us again next Monday at noon Eastern for another edition where we'll meet another exciting new neighbor. You never know who will show up. In the meantime, please do like, follow, share, support us however you can. If you do have the means, donations are always appreciated at braindrain.work. So with that, thank you very much and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, friends. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this and maybe even learned something new. If you did, don't just vanish into the algorithm. Hit like, subscribe, and follow us on social. It's the easiest way to support our work and make sure you never miss what's next. Want to stay in the loop without relying on big tech's mood swings? Sign up for our monthly newsletter. And if you've got the means, donations of any size keep our programs running strong. As a 501c3, your gift is tax deductible where the law allows. Together, we can turn Brain Drain into America's next big breakthrough.